Welcome to Pim Satira, Arab Shabbos Parshas Kisisa, Tafshin Pei Gimel. Motzei Purim is Yud Zayin Adar Shifsar. The Ema Shifsar V'Shitzar. So we're going to say the Ema Shifsar. We say talk a little bit about Purim because, as usual, I'm not prepared on Parshas Kisisa, but I have some few thoughts about Purim. A lot of them were instigated by Rabbi Shor on Purim night. But maybe we'll just talk about a little bit about Chaim. It's like I was reading the book about Chaim, just amazing. He's like, Chaim, everyone knew he was a Sarah Torah, but he appears to have been the Sarah Midas also. That's his ability. First of all, I mean, just if you ever went to him, you just saw, anyone can have the patience after being up, 20 hours of the day, to have just thousands of people come in and share with them, and just each person, even just to give a buha, and all the people that he gave chizik to over the years. It's just incredible. But just the way he treated his wife, the way he had a sister who was almana, Remsen Barzim. She lost her husband in 1964. He would go there every day lunchtime to eat lunch with her, and she was with her. He spent like a half hour there every day. When he got older, it was harder for him. He would go once a week. I think he'd go on Shabbos. But it was just his incredible, just his spotless to what he understood was needed to be done in Midas. That's what he did. He learned with his children. He learned with them. By the time they were 13 or 15, he went through Shas with them a couple of times. And he pushed them, but it was always with a smile. Always, he never reprimanded them. I mean, it seems to be could be times that he showed a certain amount of upset just to kafi what had to be shown, to try to motivate them. He says he brought his child to cheder for the first time, to playgroup, whatever, cheder, and kid's 4 or 5 years old. And what does a parent normally do? They drop the kid off. As the kid is scared, he cries, and the parents leave. And then within an hour or two, the kid's okay. He goes back next day, cries an hour or two, and he's okay. Eventually, he stops crying. So he drops his son off by the cheder, and he's sitting there, in the back of the shir and the back of the room, waiting for to see that his son settles down. So the Rebbe said, "It's fine, you could go. He may cry, but he'll get over it. He says, I don't want my child to cry. He says, it hurts me. I don't want my child to cry. I'll sit here. Anyway, I learned Kailam. No one's waiting for me. Chabusa now. He came with his safer. He sat in the back of the classroom, and he sat there for 4 or 5 days, the entire day until the kid was acclimated, and he sat and learned regular. But at the same time, he was listening over to how the Rebbe was teaching also. Mm-hmm. And for years later, he would say over certain things he learned from that Rebbe, certain mishalim that he said, a number of things that he said over for years later that he learned in the kindergarten class.
That was in the article.
Yeah, so that's yeah. It's just like you just read about his midas. It's just like also his determination in keeping him with his chayvus. He's having a stroke in 2001. He had a certain amount he had to learn every day. So he's sitting there, being wheeled to the hospital, just making sure he finishes his Seder Halimon of the day, and when it was super difficult for him, the more difficult it was, the more excited he was afterwards. He felt so elated that he was zeichet to finish the shiurim that he set up for himself in Hashem's Torah, and it should be a chizik for all of us to really just to undertake the dveikus and Torah, and just to sit and melt into the Gemara, whatever we're learning, and just go, and then just learn and learn. And don't get bogged down if you don't understand something so well. Just keep on going. That was his the midah that he inspired in his children. Just learn. You're gonna learn. You may forget. You may not understand it fully. Whatever you get going through it, 1-2 times is going to give you a shirish. It's going to give you a foundation in the Torah. They can be very happy that you had. And people get intimidated. I don't understand it so well. Brought down a Maisa with that he found inspiration to him when he was younger. He had his roommate. His name was Ramosha Soloveitchik. He's actually my daughter-in-law, Shai's wife, her great uncle. He was married to Newman, and he was his roommate in Lamja when they were Bachram, in Petach Tikva, and this was in the I guess in the 40s, early 50s, and they were bringing a lot of Sfardim to Eretz Yisrael, the Teimanim to Eretz Yisrael, and they were trying to get them to go off the derech, and they put him into Frei Kibbutzim, and so Ramesh Soloveitchik, he was going around at night, knocking on doors and trying to get these Sfardim to enroll their children into Chadarim instead of sending them to the Frei Meistes. And he used to learn Daf Yomi. He came back one night, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and he sat down to learn his Daf Yomi. And Chaim says he's watching him. He learns 2 minutes, he falls asleep. He learns another 2 minutes, he falls asleep, and he just sits plugging, pushing. So finally, after like an hour of falling asleep and learning, he finally gets through the daf. And Chaim asks him, he says, "Did you understand what you learned?" So he smiles and says, "Not really." He says, "But if I don't push myself through it, azay, and then I lose my kfiyas." He says, "So I have to push through it now. Maybe not understand it. Just so tomorrow I'll understand when I do the next stuff tomorrow. I'll still be part of my routine, and it'll be better tomorrow." But Kitzer, Chaim took chizik from this. You know, saying things are difficult because you have to push through. That's the way it is with us. You know, every day is difficult. Every time you sit down to learn, your eyes are closing, and your mind is floating away. And right. So the cell phone you have to shut off. Then you have to listen. The smartphone you have to throw in the garbage, and if you have a flip phone, shut it off. And just push, just keep on going, and just think of the way Chaim pushed and the simcha that he had afterwards, of when he pushed through and he managed to accomplish what he set out to accomplish. That was the greatest simcha in the world to him. But his example should be something that we should as Hashem start emulating today, and emulate as Hashem for the rest of our lives. The let me just record something about on Megillah. Think about this year, and I didn't really get the chance to record it, so we'll have an opportunity now to maybe to share it with Olam and to have it recorded. We have in Megillah's Esther, they have Esther is referred to as Esther, plain Esther. And at some point in Megillah, she starts being referred to a certain amount as Esther Hamalka. Esther gets transformed from being plain Esther to being referred to as Esther Hamalka. And Esther Hamalka personifies Esther as being a ruchanistic being. Because we know every time it says in Megillah Hamelech is first Achashverosh, but in the pnimis of Hamelech is Hakadosh Baruch Hu, right? So when we refer to Esther as Esther Hamalka, it's going to refer to Esther L'chayr. It's Pasha refers to Esther, but there's a Shechina. And Hamelech is Hakadosh Baruch Hu, is Kutcher Baruch Hu, and Esther represents Shechina. I mean, you have to understand that the story of the Megillah, and you have Mordechai and Esther as human beings playing roles in the Megillah. So on the surface, they're human beings. But in the pnimis of Mordechai and Esther, Mordechai represents the mashpia of chesed, which would be the kutcher Baruch Hu part of the relationship. And Esther personifies the shechina, the makabel of this chesed. Mordechai inspires and he tuzuf, and he inspires Esther to act in a certain way. So he's sort of the leader. He's a leading role, and Esther's makabel everything from him. And ultimately, this chibur of Mordechai and Esther, which on the ruchnistic level will be referred to as Mordechai is the R of Mordechai, right? The hashpais of chesed of Mordechai, that is nislabish, that is niskabel in Esther Hamalka. This makes such a chibur of the mashpia mekabel, which means this brings down all the hashpais of chesed, which brought about the Nes in Klal Yisrael. So meaning before the Nes happens in the Maisa, it's inspired by the avodah of Mordechai and Esther. Mordechai is being mashpia, the iris of chesed, and Esther is being makabel them. And when Esther reaches this madriga, where she's in ganzin makabel from Mordechai, Mordechai says, "Okay, you have to be in ganzin ma'aser nefesh, go into Achashverosh, put your life on the line, and recognize that this may be the last thing you do for Klal Yisrael." But this is when Esther is makabel that hashpa of Mordechai. This is when Esther personifies the madrega of Esther Malka, and this is where she personifies. She's kilu the personification of Shechin and Klal Yisrael, and that's why she's called Hamalka. So every time it's Hamelach, it's referring to Kodesh Baruch, and Hamalka means that this Esther reaches this madrega. Where does Esther reach this madrega? After the 3 days of fasting, she goes in the beginning of Parakeh Tachashverosh, Vehi Bayom Hashlishi, Batilbash Esther Malchus. Esther garbs herself in Malchus. Dr. Gemara, what's Batilbash Esther Malchus? Right, it says Vatamad B'chatza Beis Hamelach HaPnimis. It sounds like she's getting dressed in the Chatza Beis Hamelach HaPnimis. Dr. Gemara, she's not getting dressed. Batilbash Esther Malchus Nislapsha Baruch HaKodesh. Okay, she got this madrega of Ruach HaKodesh. When you say Esther reaches madrega of Ruach HaKodesh, that means she became a keli to be mekabel these tremendous iris of chesed that are fueling the nes Bez Hashem. You know that would eventually fuel the nes. So Esther Batabash Esther Machas. At this point, this is the first point in the Megillah where Esther is referred to as Esther Hamalka. Batabash Esther Machas. The Tam B'chatz Beis HaMelech, right? He cries HaMelech as Esther Malka. He doesn't just see Esther. He sees Esther Malka. Medes B'chatz. Vayikras HaMelech as Esther Malka. HaMelech HaKadosh Baruch is Esther Malka. Here you have Yichud Kutcher B'chus Shchintei of HaKadosh Baruch and Esther Malka. Nasa Chen Be'einav. This is the hashpa of Mamata Lamal. We spoke about what the Indian of Nisas Chen is when you take Shem Havai and you go from bottom. From Hey Achroina, K, Vav, K, Yud, right? That's Big Matra Chen. Okay, that means this is her being Mikabel, this Bechin of Malchus, and what's referred to is she's Malaman, she's Mala Hashpas Lamala. Then I'm here and I'm ready, and she instigates the gates of Chesed, the Shef of Chesed to be opened up from above. So she's Esther Malka. And so by Yoshed Hamelech Esther Es Sharvat Hazav, Asher B'Yodai, so he stuck out the Sharvat Hazav. The Gemara tells us the Malachim helped him to take out Sharvat Hazav. Asher B'Yodai, Vatikat Esther Vatiga Rosh Hasharvat. Esther came and she touched the Rosh of the Sharvat. So you have over here, right? The Gemara tells us that Esther's coming in with Ruach HaKodesh. Gemara is going to say that when she came, she could hear based at Slamim. So the Ruach HaKodesh was the Stalka, and she said Keli Lamas Haftani. We'll get to that. But also as she's coming in, she's surrounded by Malachim are helping her. Right, part of her Batilbash Esther Malchus. Ruach HaKodesh means she becomes a ruchlistic being, and she's having a tremendous siyat d'shmaya being surrounded by Malachim. Gemara tells us there are 3 Malachim helped her at this point. One that made Esther stand up straight, right? Because Esther was fasting, and she was very haggard and bent over. One stood her up straight. One was Moshe Chala Chutcha Chesed, right? And the other one took the Sharvat Hazav and stretched it out to her. So she's surrounded by Malachim. And we're going to find by the Suda later also there's Malachim all around pushing Hamad down. Malachim are sitting. There's Malachim that are chopping down the trees in the Ginas Beast and Shalom Melech. And once Esther is in a matziv of a Tilbash Esther Machas, so she's taka surrounded by Malchus Shemaim. Shemela Malchus Shemaim has Malachim all around, right? The Kisi Malchus has who's to have the Merkava has around it. Mini Machal, Smela Gavil, Mafana Rimachar, right? That's she's surrounded by these Malachim. Mela she has these Malachim that are all surrounding her and giving her the Siyat Dishmaya. It's not just agav dik separate things. It's all this bechin of Esther's mekabel achrayis and klal yisrael Moshe nefesh. She reaches madrega of Esther Malka. Esther Malka is surrounded by the malach of the Kisar Kavim. Surrounded by malach of Kisar Kavim. Oh, now you have they're going to be helping around everything that she does. Esther says in Melech Toiv. Okay, so we'll talk about maybe what is this lashon of Imah HaMelech Toiv, what is the lashon, and also just interesting ideas on Atiga b'Rosh Hashanah. She touches the Rosh of the Shabbat. What is this Indian that Esther is Nagea b'Rosh Hashanah? You have later on in the Haggadah when Esther comes to Achashverosh to ask about rescinding the Igares. She sticks out the Shabbat. There's no mention of her Batiga b'Rosh Hashanah at this point. Right? This is later on. You're right. No Inyan Batiga B'Rosh. What is the Inyan Batiga B'Rosh Hashanah? So Rabbi Shur said over by Purim night. He said over from a sefer called Alfei Menashe, a Zidit Chaver Einakol, who said Batiga B'Rosh Hashanah. She touched the Rosh of the Shabbat has to do with the Oishin of Shabbat. Okay, she had a negia in the shin of the Shabbat. Okay, he said like 12 pshatim in this, and I don't know if he said any of them, but it just the idea of this idea of Atiga Rosh Hashanah to be derishit, that she interacted with the shin of Shabbat got me thinking as follows. It's a nice hemshech to a very famous bar. We've said it over in the past, and I think it's a nice hemshech. The Bnei Yissaschar brings down from the Shimshon Ashtrapoli, that Hashem Yinkaydama. There's a Medrash Pliya. Medrash says that Esther asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why is Klal Yisrael, why are they deserving of being destroyed? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers back, Nation Nasu Mach V'Rash. Klal Yisrael is Mach and Rosh Hashanah is being poor. They're bankrupt. Okay, on the surface it sounds like they're Nanu Misudas Shal Chashverish. They've thrown in the their belief system. And Mach V'Rash, right? They're penniless, right? They're out of schusim. That's what it sounds like. Miyad Pasach Lama. She said at that point about Lama Secha Yalsa Shachar Keli Lama Azaptani. So, and that's a medrash, okay? She heard the Mach V'Rash. She says Keli Lama Zaftani. So the Shimshon Ashtrapoli explains as follows. He says Klal Yisrael in Golus has special schusim that help them get through with the difficult circumstances of Golus. One of them is Malach Michael. Mimini Michael. Michael is Malach of Chesed. Malach Michael always is there to defend Klal Yisrael and to protect Klal Yisrael. So there's Malach Michael, who's Malach of Chesed, Mimini Michael, Yamin is Chesed. Michael is always there for Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael being the children of Yaakov Avinu of the Avos and being called B'Shem Yisrael, personifying the Kedusha of Yisrael, being the Kedusha of Yisrael, that also is the schus, Klal Yisrael, the schus of Yisrael, of being Yisrael. So you have Michal and Yisrael are schusim for Klal Yisrael. Now, he doesn't bring that Eliyahu, but I think another sefer also brings down is that also Eliyahu Navi is also always a Mamletz Tov for Klal Yisrael, right? And Eliyahu also would fit into this part, even though you have to know exactly where, but you'll see that it fits in also. Huh? Yeah. So So he says as follows: Klal Yisrael, when they lose their schusim, they lose the schus of Michal. They're not Zaycha the Chesed. Michal has in it a mem and a chaf, and the shemus of Hashem in his name are Aleph, Lamed, and Yud, right? Keli, right? Yisrael also has in it Aleph, a Lamed, and the Yud, right? And the Shin and the Reish, okay? So Mela, when Klal Yisrael loses the schus of the Zaycha the Chesed and they distance themselves from personifying Klal Yisrael B'Kedusha, they lose the ruchnius of those shemos. Mela, Michal becomes Mach, and Yisrael becomes Rush, right? You have the mem and chaf of Michal remains without the keli, without the aleph lamed yud, and Yisrael has just a shin in the reish, and the mela it becomes mach v'rosh. He said, Klal Yisrael lost his chus of Michal, lost his chus of Yisrael. You also Elio also has the aleph and lamed in the yud in the beginning. They would also lose the chus of Elio Navi. What does Esther do? Miyachi says, Keli, lama zaftani. She davened Hashem. Why did you let the kedusha of Michael, the kedusha of Yisrael, leave, right? And she brought it back, right? When she brought back by saying her tefillah, Keli, lama zaftani, Mach became Michael, Rosh became Yisrael, and she was able to bring back all the discussion of Klal. This is and also would also be Tzushtat Eliyah Navi also. So Mela, that's what the Rishab Shashpoli. I was thinking that Tzushel is brought also by Tiga, Rosh Hasharvit, right? The Rosh Hasharvit doesn't have to be the Shin. The Rosh Hasharvit can be the Shin and the Reish, right? He had Achashverosh had a tain on Klal Yisrael. He had a chizik Klal Yisrael that they were Rosh, right? So he had a shlita. He was holding on to the Shin and the Reish, right, of Rosh, and that was his chus to be shal and Klal Yisrael. The Klal Yisrael is not Rosh. When she's tiga b'Rosh Hashavet also Rosh is Reish Shin. Now she tiga b'Reish Shin, meaning the Shin Reish of the Sharvet, and because she disconnected it because she took it from being a Rosh and she made it to the chus of Klal Yisrael. So Mela, that was what she did when she was tiga b'Rosh Hashavet. What happens when you take off the Shin Reish off of Sharvet? You're left with a Shem Kaddish of a Beis, a Yud, and a Tes, which was a Gematria Eke. And the Shem Kaddish of Beis, a Yud, and Tes, you may have noticed it in your Machzorim when you say the Tachnunim about any Tikkunim of for Shavim and Tikkunim of Kedusha Tabris. You say the Shem Beis and Yud and Tes is what is aimed as a schus for Klal Yisrael, and comes from a pasuk kivi chashak ba'afal tenu, right? And it's brought down in the Sefer Rimzei Shemus from the Ramaz that Ari bought me. That's Ari bought me. You don't buy me, but your great grandfather put it out. Or your great grandmother paid for the printing of it. The Nishmas, your great grandfather Pella Boyer, and it says over there that this shame is a shame that is matzah. It's a shame of batzola, right? It's a shame of any matziv. It guarantees to be matzah from any difficult situation. Achashverosh had a sharvit. He had the rush, meaning the fact that he was able to say Klal Yisrael's rush. That was nischaber to the shame of Beis Yud and Tes, and it didn't allow the shame Eke to be shaylit. She removed the Shin Reish. She made it to be Chus Klal Yisrael. So it became Yisrael with the Eke, which is shame Beis Yud and Tes. Kivi Chashak V'Afal Tenu, right? That's a Klal Yisrael. That naturally Cheshach V'Kodesh Baruch Hu V'Afal Tenu, and you have Yartzeit Pleita. You get safe from it. And this may be a kavana for Vatiga B'Reish Hashavet, that she's staring the Shin Reish from the Shabbat, and she's taking the Keli, making it into Yisrael. Versus with Michael, she also stared Michael. Vatiga B'Reish Hashavet, Nachal Pshat would be Azay. The Rosh Hashavet doesn't have to be the whole Shin. The Rosh of the Shabbat is the right. There's 3 Yuds on top of the Shin, right? The right Yud is the Rosh Hashavet. The Shin has 3 Yuds, and the 3 Yuds are connected Av Yitzchak and Yaakov. Av Yitzchak and Yaakov is Yemin Shmo Emsa, right? And so the right Yud is Avram, and left Yud is Yitzchak, and the middle Yud is Yaakov and the Shin. If you Tiga B'Reish Hashavet, she's rearing, she's touching, right? She's connecting to the first Yud of the Shin, which is not taller, no, right? It's like this.
You reach for the something, you reach for the middle of it.
Reish is when you go from when you read it, right? Lots of Reish is the first, right? First, which connected Avram Avinu. Avram, which Malch is connected Avram? Michal, right? Avram Yitzchak Yaakov is Michal, Gavriel, Uriel, right? So Shabbatika Rosh Hashavet, she chapped on to the Rosh Hashavet, which is the Yemin of the Shin, which is connected Malch Michal, and she was able to to bring the schus of Mechal and Yisrael by being Nagea B'Reish Hashavet. That's for something, so that's why now Daika, she had to be Tiga B'Reish Hashavet, because here she had to turn the tide. She had to undo the Kitchug. The Kitchug was a Klal Yisrael's Rosh Mach. She had to, at this point, she had to be Tiga B'Reish Hashavet. She had to take a flip around the Indian of Rosh Mach. The tide was already turned. At this point, there's no avoida of Vatiga B'Reish Hashavet. I was also thinking that Esther Hamalka, when she becomes Hamalka is also B'Gematria Michael, right? It's off by one, but it's a Hamalka is a Gematria 100, Michael is 101, as we know from Parshas Truma. No, I'm saying. One of them just had. Was it last week? Was it last week? It's Last week. Couple Alps. Look at Michal Simon. Yeah.
The only thing is 96.
Huh?
I was 96.
Yeah.
It's either the order 130 something.
Right. So that would be it's a little bit about Vatiga B'Reish Hashavet. Maybe just to finish with.
Also,
What is? Vatiga B'Reish Hashavet. There you go. Okay. So Rabbi Shua was talking about being Darish of the Pasuk. I asked him, Im al Hamelech Tayv. What is this Indian of Im al Hamelech Tayv? So Yahweh Melech v'Haman Hayir Melech Mishnash Asisi Loi. Right. So I was thinking about Melech Tayv. What's Tayv? Tayv is Imul Sadiki Tayv. It's means how you say it, right? Tayv is argon, as we always said, and argon, as we said, is means how you say it. Right? We spoke about this many times. Tayv matches 17. Right, so he's dashing on Shemal Melech Tayv. So I'm thinking, well, very good. Esther right now is this slap show in Esther Malka. Esther Hamalka, what is the ha'ara to Esther Hamalka Mordechai Tzaddik? Mordechai Tzaddik, the Arizal tells us is Yisoid Abba, HaMishla Beshes, B'midas Hamalchus and Esther, and that chibur between Mordechai and Esther is what brings about the ha'ara of the nays, right? Mela Im al Hamelech Tayv, which means if the Midas HaTayv, which is Yisoid, would be the Slavish and Malchus, right? So then we're going to be able to bring about it. So you have to know what the whole thing of Melech, why Haman has to be there with the Melech, but what the Ramazim are in Haman. But so we're sure saying different pshat of Melech. He says, and so I was thinking this, and he says at this point, he says, I'm not going to start talking about Yisrael Abba now. He says, because that's what Mami was going to say. He's going to talk about Derech Havayim, and I'm like sitting there, okay,
He's literally the only one in the room who would know.
Right. So it's like, okay, you don't want to think what I'm thinking, But anyway, so I was just thinking that just what other pshat in Mal Melech Tayv. Also in the Mal Melech Tayv, if you combine Tayv Melech, right? The Hamelech is B'Gematria 95. When you add Tayv to Hamelech and Haman happen to be the same Gematria, right? If you add Tayv to Hamelech, you get it from 95. You get to 112. You get to 112. 100. So I'm not. I don't know what the Taich is Hamelech, but when you add Taif to Melech, you get to 112. Why it's this breakup of 17 and 95, but 112 is, we spoke about it many times. 112 is Gmacha Havaya Lekim, which is also the idea of a chibur between Hakadosh Baruch Hu and Malchus, or it's also the Gmacha Eke Havaya Adna, which also describes the entire connection of the Moichin and Kutcherbuch and Shchinte, right? And Mela Mahamel Chayv, if we have a connection, right, a Chibur Shemaim and Arts, which mean the tzinoris of Shef are open and the Chesed is ready to pour down, right? So then we can move on and make this nace happen. He wrote in Vishtak V'Zaychet Al Nisim Al Shpois Toivis zeiche to emulate the ways of Chaim. He should be supposed to be Megan Manu, and have us in mind. And he promised me a bechin on God's Shas, so I should be zeiche to. I should be zeiche to be davik and Tyrus Hashem Tamima. We should all be zeiche to be davik and Tyrus Hashem Tamima without any distractions, and be able to melt into our Tyrus Hashem and really feel that this is where we belong, this is where we're alive, and to be so connected to our learning that everything around should just disappear for hours on end, and have that menucha of Dveka to Tyrus Hashem Tamima. With this, we zeiche taka b'mkam Mashiach Kenu Amen.